Hey everyone, it's Kara here from Boho and I am finally back after almost a 2-week hiatus. So I feel like I have some explaining to do. So a lot of you knew that I was going to take a little bit of time off anyway after 1 month in my bullet journal. And my plan was to come back with this Q&A that I'm filming right now last Friday. I was kind of burnt out from filming videos every single day throughout the month of August, to be honest with you. So I decided to push it to this week. And last weekend was absolutely amazing. A lot of you that follow me over on Instagram or Instagram stories saw that I was actually in Arizona last weekend, just outside of Tucson at the Ritz-Carlton Dove Mountain. I was invited by the team at Mind Body Green to participate in their MBG Revitalize retreat this year. So Revitalize is something that Mind Body Green hosts every single year, and they invite all the top wellness professionals from all over the world to come and participate. There's guest speakers, there's special events all throughout the weekend, there's group workouts, yoga, meditation, the best food you can imagine. It's all healthy, it's all gluten-free. I mean, just a wellness weekend. And it was absolutely incredible. I was definitely a little nervous, being the introvert that I am, going there and being alone and not really knowing anyone, but it ended up being great. I met a lot of new people, I made some new friends, and I learned a lot while I was there as well. So when I got back home after that weekend, I was not quite ready to just jump right back into work. If there's one thing that this past weekend showed me, is that I have a long way to go when it comes to my health and wellness. And I focus on so many areas of personal development, but most of that is kind of the mental side, through journaling and meditation and things like that. And while I have had more of a focus on my health this year, it's definitely not where I want it to be. So my commitment to myself when I got back home was to make sure that I went to the gym every single day this week and to kind of revamp my diet and go back to that healthy lifestyle that I started at the beginning of this year with my personal trainer, but kind of fell by the wayside over the summer. So that's been my goal this week, and I really just wanted to take the time and focus on myself a little bit and get things in place so that I can be more effective and so that I can get a better grasp on my health and wellness. So that was my focus this past week, and I'm so glad that I took the time to do it. Before we get into this Q&A, I just want to say I've been doing really well because I know people are going to be curious. I've gone to the gym every single day this week except for Monday because that was kind of a travel day. But I'm feeling great, I'm eating great, and I'm hoping to continue that on for the rest of this year. That's one of my big goals. My 18 before 2018 list is to kind of get back to my healthy lifestyle. So it's going well. That's why I've been gone. And now we're going to get into our 1 month in my bullet journal Q&A. All right, here we go. I have everything here on my iPad, so I'm going to be reading a little bit as well. But this first one is from Karen. She said, will you not be using your own printed TN inserts going forward? Karen, I am using my printed TN inserts, the ones from my shop. I'm using the blank dot grid, not the actual monthly layout. So if that was your question, no, I'm not going to use the monthly inserts that are already laid out for you. My reasoning behind that is that I actually enjoy writing out my monthly spread. I enjoy changing things up a little bit every now and then whenever I want to. So I prefer the blank dot grid to kind of create as I go. All right, question number 2 is from Little Miss Odd. And she says, a possible topic for the Q&A is, do you ever think about the environmental impact of paper notebooks and all the plastic accessories that go with it? I'm switching to a digital bullet journal because I feel like I go through so many notebooks a year. I must be taking down a whole forest by myself. Yeah, I do think about it, and I do think about all of the paper products that I own. And, I do think there's an environmental impact there, but I also think that these are items that I'm going to cherish forever. These are items that help me with my pursuit of personal development. And I do try to be environmentally conscious when it comes to recycling. We recycle at our house, we recycle at the Boho Berry office. So I do try to be conscious about things like that, but I just love putting pen to paper. I actually tried digital bullet journaling kind of on the side for a little bit just to see how I felt about it. And while it was fun, it didn't really give me the same effect that putting pen to paper does. So I don't think I'll ever switch to a digital bullet journal, but I can totally see the draw of it. And I'd love to hear how it's working out for you. I know it's working for a lot of people out there. Okay, next question is from Anne. And Anne asks, are you sad to be leaving your Lloyd Sherman 1917? Yes, Anne, I am. And I find myself from time to time wishing, I'm now on about 2 weeks that I've been in just my inserts in my traveler's notebook. And I do find myself wishing sometimes that I had my hardbound journal in there. And I am very sad. Like, my Lloyd Sherman notebooks have been with me from the get-go. It's been my go-to brand. I love their products, but I think it was just time for a change for me. So I'm excited with the direction that I'm taking. That's not to say that I don't use Lloyd Sherman notebooks anymore. I still have a ton of them. I have 2 that I use for everyday journaling. One is just everyday long form journaling, and the other is kind of a gratitude 5 lines a day notebook. And then I also have a couple of their B5 size notebooks as well that I use for projects, soft covers. So I have one going for my website redesign. I have one going for a couple of courses that I'm taking. So I'm still using the Lloyd Sherman products, just not as my everyday bullet journal. All right, this next one is from Lulu's Planner Life. And she says, how can I add the sleep log if I already did my September layout? The beauty of the bullet journal is that you can create it as you go. So anything that you can think of that you want to add into your notebook, you can do that at any time. Just turn the page and on the next blank spread, add in whatever you like. There's nothing saying that you have to set up your whole month in advance and then you can't add anything else to it. That would be like a pre-printed planner, right? The bullet journal system is created so that you can add things in as you like. So there's nothing wrong with adding it in after the month starts. All right, this next one is from Eric. Eric and Sydney says, what exactly does your goal check consist of? I've gotten questions about that a lot, and I do have, I think it's my monthly review, that little bonus 1 month in my bullet journal video. I talked a little bit about my goal check, and really it's as simple as it sounds. All I do is look back on my goals, wherever I have them written down, and I go through them one by one and think to myself, there's no written process here. I just think to myself, how am I doing on this goal? Is it still relevant? Do I need to push back the time frame on it? What steps could I take next to get closer to this goal? And just reviewing them step by step, just like that for each and every goal. So it's really a mental thing. There's not a written process to it. I just review all of my goals, see where I stand and how I can move forward on them. Simple as that. All right, this next one is from Candace. She asked about the goal check as well, which I just answered, but also my budget review. And she said, also, would you consider taking us along for a miracle morning adventure? It will be interesting to see if you like the inserts more than the file of facts. All right, so we have multiple questions here, Candace. The budget review, I'm actually thinking about doing a video on this pretty soon, so let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see it. But I use an app called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. You can find it at youneedabudget.com, and that's what I use to manage all of our finances, both home and business. And I've been using this app for years. I absolutely love it, and I have a budget review process that I go through every time we get a paycheck. So whenever money comes into our bank accounts, I always go through our budget line by line to see how we're doing. We have some goals, some savings goals in there as well. And I like to see how we're doing saving towards those big goals that we have. And then I assign every dollar a job. So every single dollar that comes in, I separate it into different categories and decide where that's going to be spent. So that's my budget review process, and I just like to see where we stand and if we're on track for our savings goals. The next part of your question was about taking you along for a miracle morning adventure. This has been a plan of mine for as long as I can remember. I just haven't been able to find a day where my husband can do some filming for me, because it's kind of awkward. I can't film myself meditating, right? So I'm waiting for a day, and hopefully soon, when my husband is home and he can go through the process with me in the morning, so I can show you exactly what my morning routine looks like. But it is coming, I promise. And then the last part you mentioned wasn't really a question, but said you're interested in seeing if I like the inserts more than the file of facts. I can tell you right now, yes, I adore my inserts. The reason I wanted to try out the file of facts in the first place was that I wanted to be able to separate my bullet journal into different categories so that it was easier for me to kind of keep everything organized in my head. And that just didn't work out for me, because with the file of facts and the rings, I was always having to take pages out to write on them and then put them back in. So I couldn't just sit on my couch or at my coffee table and write like I normally used to in my hardbound notebook. With the Traveler's Notebook inserts, I'm able to just open up to any page that I want and start writing, and then I still have separate little notebooks where I have everything separated into categories. So it's working really, really well for me. All right, the next one I have is from Lorelei, and she said, I'd really like to know which information you take out of your trackers and what you actually do with this information. I'm always intrigued by the idea, but never know why I should track all this stuff, and then I stop doing it. But you're so consistent in tracking, maybe I'm missing something. You know, Lorelei, I don't really extract any information necessarily from my trackers. Every now and then I will, like my sleep tracker, or if I do a time log, I can see patterns and kind of see where I'm struggling or where I could improve in different areas. But my main trackers, like my habit tracker, for example, that I do every single month, for me, it's really just, it's the act of tracking itself that helps to hold me accountable. So once you get in the habit of tracking daily, you'll see that you start holding yourself accountable more for all those things that you decided you wanted to start tracking. So for me, like seeing a whole line filled with everything marked off is really motivating and inspiring. And if I see a whole day where, I don't have a lot marked off, then I know I want to do better tomorrow. So just the act of tracking, not necessarily the data that I receive from it, but the act of tracking is what keeps me motivated and helps me to hold myself accountable. So that's why I do it. All right, we've got one from Constance, and Constance asked if I'm going to continue with my sleep log. Also, are you ever going to do a season 3 of 1 month in my bullet journal? I'd love to watch it again. All right, Constance, for the sleep log, I'm not continuing it this month. I might bring it back in the future, but really the goal of doing the sleep log for me in August was just to kind of see visually at a glance how I was doing on my sleep. What was the quality of my sleep like? What were my average times to go to bed and to wake up? How long did I sleep? And how did that affect me throughout the month? So I feel like I was able to learn those trends from tracking for a whole month, and I didn't feel the need to do it again in September. That's not to say that I won't slowly kind of revert back to bad habits and might need to do it again just to give myself that extra motivation to get back on track. So I can always add it in later on. All right, and the second part of your question was about season 3 of 1 month in my bullet journal. And the answer to that is emphatically yes. I absolutely loved doing it this time around. Switching everything around schedule-wise so that I was filming and planning in the morning really worked out well for me, and it allowed me to really enjoy the process much more this time around. So I definitely learned from that, and I'll definitely be doing it again. My plan going forward is to do it every 6 months. So I'll be doing it every February and every August from here on out. All right, this one is from Janisa, and Janisa says, hi, I was wondering what you do for your future planning, especially for things that are a couple of months ahead. All right, so I've been getting this question a lot since I switched to inserts, and I'm no longer using the Calendex system, which is what I used before for my future planning. With the way that I have everything laid out now in multiple inserts, it just doesn't make sense to have the Calendex, because the way the Calendex works is you index the page number that that event is on. And since my monthly inserts are rotating every month, I didn't want to have to go back to my shelf to find events that were scheduled. So now I'm actually doing all of my future planning digitally. So I use a Google Calendar that I share with my husband and I share with my assistant, Kristen, and so that we're all on the same page all the time about what's going on. So future events go in there, appointments go in there, and I just reference those every single month when I'm setting up my monthly spread. For future projects, I'm actually still using OmniFocus, which I've done a whole video on how I'm using that, but the combination of my Google Calendar and OmniFocus is how I handle all of my future planning. So my bullet journal is really this month, this week, and today. That's it. I'm not going any further than that. All right, this next one is from Melanie, and Melanie asked, how do you differentiate between an event and an appointment? All right, so this is a big question that I get asked too pretty often, and I usually only differentiate between the two on my weekly spread. So an event to me is something that's happening on a particular day, not necessarily at any given time. An appointment is something that has a time associated with it. So that's just how I differentiate. Other people may differentiate differently. It's totally up to you. But I do lump events and appointments into the same category because they're things that are scheduled, whether they be on a certain day or at a certain time specifically. So whenever I'm writing those in my dailies, I still use that circle bullet for either an event or an appointment. It applies to both. Hope that helps. All right, this next one is from 3Duncan3. And I just pulled this question because I thought it was so funny. But they say, how do you feel about being approached by your fans in public? Fangirls. I feel fine about it. I've been approached a couple of times. It doesn't happen often, especially around where I live. But I've been approached a couple of times, like once at the train station, once when I was at the aquarium. And it's kind of cool, but it's kind of weird at the same time. To me, I'm just this normal girl at my house, just doing what I love and putting it out into the world. So when someone comes up to me and they're like speechless and they don't know what to say or how to approach me, it's flattering, I guess, to think that people view me that way. But at the same time, I'm just a regular girl. So if you ever do see me in public, don't be afraid to come say hi. I love talking to everyone. It's a little bit different at big events. So like when I go to pen shows or PlannerCon, things like that, I expect it a little bit more. So I'm a little more ready for it. So I don't get as flabbergasted when people come up kind of fangirling to me. But I love it. I love connecting with my community online, and I love it even more when I get to connect in person. So if you see me out there, say hi. Don't be afraid. Okay, all right, I have one here from Isabella, and I had a few of these along these same lines. She said, have you thought about what you're going to do with your TN inserts once you finish them? I realize some will stay in your TN for a while, but what about all of the monthly inserts? All right, so yes, besides my monthly insert, the rest are gonna be in my bullet journal for quite some time, but with the monthlies, my intention, and this may change depending on how it works out in practice, my intention is just to save a whole year's worth of inserts. And once I have the whole year's worth, I can bind them somehow into a book and put that on my shelf. But until I have the year's worth, I'm literally just going to be putting those inserts on my shelf, make sure they're dated on the outside so I know what year and what month they are, and then find a way to bind them together later. All right, this next question is from Amy, and Amy says, I have a question about your habit tracker. You have a row for tracking miracle mornings as well as a workout tracking row. Sometimes you mark that you did both, and sometimes you do your miracle morning but not a workout. Since exercise is one of the savers in miracle morning, I'm wondering what kind of exercise do you do that's different from your workouts? And on the days when you also work out, do you do that in addition or instead of the exercise in your miracle morning? Thanks. All right, Amy, great question. For my miracle morning, on days that I work out and go to the gym, I count that as my E, as my exercise. On days that I don't go to the gym, I always try to make sure that I get some form of exercise into my morning routine. Usually that's as simple as doing some yoga, some sun salutations. Other times I'll just grab the jump rope and jump for a few minutes. Sometimes I'll do some jumping jacks, just something to get myself going and pumped up for the day, even if it's like 5 minutes. So yes, on days that I mark off my miracle morning and not work out, it's usually that short 5-minute burst of something that I can do around the house really, really quickly. On days that I mark off both, I count my gym time as my exercise. So I hope that helps. All right, this next one is from Liat. I hope I'm saying that right, Liat. She says, I hope it's a good place for questions. Your Omni review is full of folders and subfolders that are so organized and smart. I wanted to ask, please, how did you manage to put all the reviews processes in such a complete and perfect order? Is there a pathway one can follow to do the same? Yes. I wish that I could take full credit for how my OmniFocus is organized. I have kind of pulled different ideas from different places online. The main spot that I go for inspiration is learnomnifocus.com, and I'll try to link that in the description box below. But again, it's learnomnifocus.com, and he has some great resources there, interviews with other experts that use OmniFocus, and you get to see their workflows, and he has suggestions for ideal ways to set up all your folders, projects, and subfolders. So that's a great, great resource, and I've gotten a lot of my inspiration and ideas on how to organize things to best suit me from there. All right, and we have one final question today. This is from Saf, and Saf says, are you going to continue with planning in the morning now that 1 month in my bullet journal is over, or are you going back to planning the night before? I have officially gone back to planning the night before. I love planning the night before. It allows me to go to bed with a clear mind, already knowing what needs to get done tomorrow. When I plan in the morning, I find myself going to bed really stressed out, not knowing what's coming up or not knowing exactly what's coming up and what I need to do in the morning. So I find that planning at night really, really helps me to feel better about my day. I get to kind of review how my day went and then look forward to the next day and know what's coming up on the horizon. So I have gone back to planning at night. When I do 1 month in my bullet journal again, I will go back to planning in the morning because it made it so much easier this time around. But yes, I am definitely a nighttime planner. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up our 1 month in my bullet journal Q&A. And I want to say thank you to everyone who submitted questions. I hope I got to them all. If not, you can ask questions in the comments below. I'll be happy to type in some responses down there. And I am happy to report that I will be back to my twice a week posting schedule starting next week on every Monday and Friday. So I can't wait to see y'all next week. I can't wait to get back into filming and putting out great videos for you. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.